What's up, friends? Today I want to have a quick conversation because I'm not working this week. I want to have a quick conversation about um your subconscious, your relationships, intimacy, vulnerability, and the fact that you are not in control of the way that other people perceive you. Um and specifically the way that you are perceived, the way that you act, and essentially the things that you attract in love and relationships. So let's get into it. We're going to utilize astrology for this breakdown. We're going to talk about the houses, specifically the first house and the seventh house. In astrology, your first house is opposite your seventh house. Let's start there. Your first house is your mask. It is your face. It is your persona. It is the personality that you develop in your childhood in order to survive. Your rising sign is basically a manifestation, as the action that you take in your childhood in response to your childhood home and that environment. So your rising sign, your first house, this is how you want to appear to the world. It's essentially how you appear to the world, but that's because this is how you want to be perceived. First house is associated with Aries, right? This is your house of I am. This is your sense of self. This is individuality. This is ego. This is me, right? Opposite end, we have the energy of Libra. We have the seventh house. This is your relationships with other people. I consider these long-term partnerships, relationships, business relationships will go in this as well. And so everything that I'm saying today can also be applied to business relationships. So your seventh house is your relationships. Your seventh house, because it is opposite your first house, is also going to be your subconscious. So now we're going to talk about signs. So for example, we have Aries. On the opposite end of Aries is Libra. So if we have Aries in the first house, if you're an Aries rising, then you're going to have Libra on the seventh house. That means these two different aspects, areas of your life, your persona, the way that you appear to the world, is going to be completely different than the way that you appear in your love relationships. In fact, it's going to be the complete opposite. This is interesting when we have conversations about what Teal Swan calls the dupe pattern and how we can show up one way in the world, or maybe one way in the beginning of a relationship, and then we actually are the complete opposite way, or you know what I mean? So your seventh house is your subconscious because it is on the descendant, or the opposite side of your rising sign of your first house. So when we're talking about sister signs, we're talking about opposite signs. I'm having content that's going to come out and give us more insight on this, but we're talking about sister signs, opposite signs. Example, we have Virgo and Pisces. These are opposite signs. On the descendant of Virgo is Pisces. So if you want to understand one sign, even one area of life, if you want to completely understand that sign, you also have to understand its sister sign. You have to understand the sign that it has on its descendant. Why? Because if your descendant is your subconscious, then your rising sign is your rising sign is your conscious mind. Your first house is your conscious mind. Your seventh house is your subconscious mind, right? It's the aspects of yourself that you are not aware of. We would describe this as your shadow. It's the things about yourself that you can't see. It's your trauma, right? This is why in your relationships and those close personal relationships, that's when you are being triggered the most, right? Because if your seventh house is your subconscious, then your personal relationships, those partners, are going to be a physical embodiment of your subconscious. What does this mean? When you are connecting with somebody, specifically in this aspect of your life, in the aspect of love, romantic relationships, Again, this could apply to business partnerships as well. In the aspect of love, romantic relationships, it is essentially that you are connecting. It's as if you were connecting with and having a conversation with the back of your head, because you can't see the back of your head normally when you're looking in the mirror. So, me right now looking into the camera, this is my ascendant. This is my Scorpio rising. I have Scorpio on the first house. The back of my head that I can never see is my descendant. So this is Taurus. So to the public, what I can control, my rising sign, my ascendant, is Scorpio energy. My descendant in my subconscious is Taurus energy. So what happens is, law of mirrors, you connect with people who are going to mirror back your subconscious mind to you, which is kind of similar to, you want to see the back of your head, you stand in front of a mirror, you put the mirror there, and then you can see it, right? So when you're connecting with people in relationships, that person, it's going to be coming to you, and it's as if the front of their face is the back of your head. They are going to be showing you all of the aspects, of yourself that you don't see. So the point of today's video is that I'm just having this recognition that, okay, hold on. No, I kind of dropped the point. So when you're dealing with the signs, the sister signs, you want to understand the sign that's on the descendant of another sign. You want to understand each sign's opposite sign as you're learning about that sign, gaining a greater understanding of it. Why? Because if each sign's sister sign, yes, if each sign's opposite sign is the descendant, is the subconscious, then what that means is that each sign's opposite sign is going to give us insight and information on that sign's subconscious motivations, right? So the things that they are not aware about, the things that are driving them to show up in a specific way. The example that I would love is Sagittarius and Gemini. Sagittarius and Gemini are sister signs, or opposite signs. Sagittarius is growth and expansion, international travel, being exposed to different cultures, all of this stuff. Sagittarius has Gemini on the descendant, Gemini as an opposite sign. Gemini is technically your local environment, your local neighborhood. But what Gemini is essentially is the desire to learn, new information. Gemini, mercurial energy, this is associated with the third house. This is your elementary school. This is your upbringing. And so what Sagittarius, we see Sagittarius on the ascendant, Sagittarius on the first, you know what I mean? Sagittarius is a sign in general, as somebody who is constantly moving to the next thing, wanting growth and expansion. What is driving Sagittarius's desire for growth and expansion with Gemini on the descendant, Gemini being ruled by Mercury? It's the desire to learn more. It's the desire to have more information, the desire to have more experience. And then we see Sagittarius being ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is expansion. And so expansion is going to be rooted in the desire for more knowledge and more understanding of the world. So in order to understand a person, you have to understand, in order to have intimacy with a person, in order to have vulnerability with a person that you would arguably probably maybe have in a love relationship, you're going to want to connect with that person's descendant. You're going to want to connect with that person's shadow. And there are kind of these connotations between like shadow side aspect, which is like they tend to be the things that we're like ashamed about, or we feel guilty about, or we feel bad about, but they're not necessarily bad things or bad traits, even though I would argue that bad things, bad traits don't exist, whatever. So the point of this video is that the way that you show up in your relationships is not your first house. It's your seventh house. What this means is that you cannot control. And to me, this is mind blowing because I'm a Scorpio rising. So this is like, wait, you cannot control the way that people perceive you in your personal relationships. You don't have power over the way that they perceive you, because the people who are connecting with you in the section of your life of your 7th house, those people are not interacting with your 1st house. They're not interacting with your conscious mind. They're interacting with your subconscious. They're interacting with your trauma. They're interacting with your inner children, not with the version of you that you are trying to project out into the world. Fuck, you know what I mean? So with this information, I've been thinking, because you can't control the way that you are perceived by other people in a relationship. What example can I give? Oh, perfect. I was just talking about this on my story. It'll probably be on the highlights. I'm going to make a new highlight for healing because I already have 100 things there. Wow. So it'll be on my like healing part 2 thing. If you're going and clicking back, talking about certain dynamics and love relationships, the one where you attract the partner who doesn't want to take responsibility for you. Why? Because they had to take the responsibility, the emotional responsibility of their parent, usually their mother, right? So now they're squeamish about emotions. They hate emotions, shy away from emotions. So you coming in, having emotional needs that need to be catered to, right? Is, okay, I guess we'll say conflict. So you know when you're in those relationships where you're connecting with the person who is emotionally unavailable, they're saying they're emotionally unavailable. Their actions are showing they're emotionally unavailable. That's their 1st house, their phase. And then on the back, on their descendant, on their subconscious, you're going, no, but you want love, right? So it's like somebody who's telling you, no, I don't want emotional intimacy. And then there's this aspect of them on their subconscious that they don't see, they're not aware of it. That is, oh my God, I want to love you so badly. Oh my God, I want so much intimacy with you. Oh my God, please hold me. Oh my God, can I hold you? So there is this whole aspect of them, or several aspects of them, that they're not consciously aware of, that you see clear as day. And then I just recognize, bitch. I'm sorry. I'm not calling myself bitch anymore. It's interesting. We don't have time. So just recognizing that it's not just me. It's not just a psychic thing. It's a normal thing. It's an everyday thing. Every single time that you are interacting with someone in a personal relationship, this is why it's so easy for you to see people. Okay, example, myself. Before I was acknowledging that I had emotional needs, before I was acknowledging that I had emotional needs and that I wanted a partner to show up and meet my emotional needs, before I even knew that that was a desire that I had, I was interacting with men in relationships. This is before I knew that I'm a pretty loving, doting, caring partner. I've recognized that because I have a Scorpio rising, I have Taurus on the descendant. So I might appear to be a little bit cold, a little bit distant, a little bit, standoffish, but in my personal love relationships, I'm a really caring, giving, nurturing person. I've been recognizing that because I also have a Capricorn moon with Cancer on the descendant, all of this other stuff, right? So I would interact with partners, and then they would like interact with, it's like, say something that would trigger a response from these parts of me, the parts of me that want love and connection in that way. And I remember I was just like feeling so fucking triggered because I'm like, no. How do you know? How do you know that? How do you know that that exists? And I remember like I used to laugh about it with my guys because I'm like, no, like who told you? How did they know that? So I just think it's really interesting, throwing it out there as food for thought. Start studying your chart some more, your rising sign versus your ascendant, and recognizing that you show up in different aspects of your life in different ways. I want to have more astrology chats and stuff like that with you guys. Let me know if you enjoyed this. Let me know if it made sense to you. Let me know if it helped you. Oh, the biggest thing was allowing yourself to have a feeling of peace, because it's like, well, fuck it. I can't control it anyway. It's my subconscious. I'm not aware of it. It is what it is. We're all dealing with it. It's a normal thing, and it's not something I have to be embarrassed about. You know what I mean? Okay, that's it. I don't have any more time. Goodbye. Love you.